we are live. Today, I have a guest who is a true artist at theory crafting, in my eyes. His breakdown of series like Severance and Pluribus completely changed the way I watch series or I watch shows. Now I start looking for a lot of details and pause a lot. We'll go deep into that. But he has a strong, I've got this from your videos. He's got a strong love for philosophy and the talent for inappropriate humor. So, which makes two of
They
us.
go hand in hand.
Yes. And it's a real pleasure to have you here, Christopher or Hax.
Either one. Yeah. Whatever works, man. And again, it's Gopal, right?
Yes, it's Gopal.
Awesome. Hey, so nice to meet you, man. I appreciate all the kind words. Thank you. It means a lot to me. It feels good to be seen in that way. And also the double-edged sword of doing this theory crafting is that you will pause the episode so many times. And if you're watching it with people, they may enjoy that, but they probably won't. Now there's a couple times where I'm like, wait, okay, we need to, never mind. I'm overthinking this and just let's keep watching. We'll keep watching.
I have done that a lot, especially in Severance and Pluribus.
Yeah.
If we start with, or just to give a background for all the people who are listening here, we are going to talk a lot. I assume that we are going to talk about spoilers. So if you have not watched Pluribus, please pause, come back and watch this again. But it's on Apple TV. Pluribus is a show about an extraterrestrial virus that has taken over almost entire humanity, except for few. And now there's a tension between those who are not taken over and those who are. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting series. And I would like to start with that.
Yeah.
I have paused Pluribus. I don't know. My wife is not happy about it. I've
Okay.
paused it so many times. Just hey, there's a scene here. This might give a lot of meaning. But just to take a step back, when I think about Pluribus, the first thing is like humanity gets wiped out. That's like extinction stories, right? So
Yeah.
I have read and I have seen extinction stories wherein a comet gets hit on the earth and everything gets destroyed, or there's like a nuclear war and everything falls apart. But this one,
we've all seen that story, right? We've all seen that movie or whatever she says.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to name it, but yes. But this one feels a bit unsettling to me because humanity doesn't get wiped out by force or by nature. It's more like, in the cybersecurity terms, like a phishing link that someone clicked.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden, the whole humanity is compromised, right?
Yeah.
And that premise, like, actually, I don't know if I should be scared about it, but I was like, that felt so uneasy to me, just how vulnerable we are
Truly.
as a species, right?
The entire planet, right? Like, what's the firewall? What's the filter? What's the
exactly? Yeah. But when you saw this, or when you read this premise, or when you saw this premise, what was your first thought in your mind? Was it like, ooh, this is so good? Or you're like, I'm a bit scared about what I'm seeing?
Truly, I loved it right away. The first episode captured me. The premise, what was people messaged me. I had literally 3 people just send me a message and I'm like looking at my phone and I'll see like just the word Pluribus pop up. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll check that out later. And then it happened again and then again. And I was like, all right, we got what is happening right now? And yeah, I don't remember if I knew anything about it going into it. I think I knew that it had a viral component because I saw like the Petri dish smiley face. But I think that was about it. And honestly, the pilot episode was so incredibly good. Just such a powerful start and introduces a cool character who is absolutely flawed from the very beginning and, takes from her, and us following her as she like comes to terms with this thing that is not the story that we know of, this apocalyptic zombie horde attacking the remaining good people. It's like affection, it's love, it's literally, we want to make you happy. And it was just so cool. Like the first watch, I was there. I was ready for episode 2.
Same here. And what I did was I watched episode 1 and I instantly went to your site and I was seeing if like I watched it a bit late. So I watched it first week of December. So there were
Yeah.
already like 5, 6 episodes out. And then I immediately went to your site and I was like, does he have a breakdown of it? And yes, you had. So I was
Hey,
like
nice.
so excited. And the first 5 minutes of your video, I was like shocked because I didn't think about the breakdown that you had shown in there. It was like a dark sky, crickets chirping, and you
Oh
immediately
yeah.
talk about Dolbear's law or Dolbear's law or
Hmm.
something like. I
Yeah,
was like,
Dolbear. Yeah.
who who even thinks like that? Like, what made you think about crickets? And that was so
Man,
exciting to me.
it's uh, moments like that are where I am just like, I'm trying. I'm looking for things to talk about. I am, I start the episode from the beginning, just kind of dive into it, and then at that point, I'd watched the first two episodes and knew a bit more about like, what it was, and there was this species, this thing that was communicating with us, and yeah, and then like starting with crickets. I think only a month ago or so, I learned the Dolbear's law thing, and so that conversation came to mind as I was like, oh wait, I know I could like theoretically predict the temperature of that moment, and I was like, okay, let's do that for fun. And then I was like, hold on, this is a non-human species communicating about reproduction, and then we are receiving a signal that then takes over the entire planet in another non-human species communication kind of way. And yeah, it was just like it felt cool to share, and it truly may mean nothing at all. It may have no weight, but for me, it's like it's cool to think about that, and I'm glad to know that other people like the observation. You know,
I loved it, and I
heck
think there
yeah,
are even I start thinking about random things now. Now that I pause and I'm like, okay, is there something that the audit or the what do you call the director wants us to see
yeah,
in
yeah,
here because it's in the clip. They are producing that information or they are showing that information to the audience that should have some sort of a meaning. And the the thing that was very interesting to me was the curiosity of the human being as a species, right, was
so true.
kind of like the vulnerability that, like, if we were
Yeah,
not curious, we would not have explored this, or we would not have gone into this territory and said that, okay, this is like an RNA, or we need to like remap this and put it on a rat and start doing all crazy stuff. But
yeah,
it's because of our curiosity, I guess, we
yeah,
were like, let's do it.
yeah, and I think that speaks to a couple things, right? Where it's like because we were a society that was still interested in exploring, RNA, uh, and doing so at like a bioweapons lab in Maryland, it became what it became. And I think I said in one of the videos at some point where it's like, in a really real sense, this could be just kind of a vibe check, and this signal is sent out to all of the life in the universe that has like a path to sentience. And if they turn that path into a hive mind that makes it, consume itself and wipe the planet, and let nature come back and do its thing again, and hopefully a better species will come from that. Then it's knocking off all of the people who would be aggressive to everybody else in the universe, right? Because equally they could have turned it into music, like the notes of the player piano that they highlight in episode 8 or something like that,
Mm.
or 7. The keys. It's like when I saw that sequence on screen, my first thought was Westworld player piano music. And yeah, like if we had just given it to musicians, we might have a different world.
But if you were in that situation, right? Like
Hmm.
I have this mind experiment. Like if you were episode one
Hmm.
and you see you smoke, you see up, you see the flights passing by, and then everyone starts going crazy or falling apart or shaking,
Oh my God.
what would you have done in
Oh,
that
I don't
moment?
know. I have no idea. Man, I think I would have protected the people that I loved. I would have made sure they were safe, gotten them, somewhere that I felt was safe. But yeah, Carol walking back into that bar and the waitress is just standing there like, I'm like,
Exactly.
no, no,
No.
thank you. I'm walking away. There's no way I'm walking past that person. There's just no shot.
I think she, in the first two episodes, I would have done the same thing. What Carol would have done, I would have been so confused, like what is going on, and nobody's attacking anyone. It's just trying to like put
Yeah.
out fire. It's very efficient. Like people who are trying to be very efficient. There's no chaos as such. But when I see people like trembling, I go to the hospital. There's like no doctors and there's nobody that can help me. I call police. There's no. I would panic a bit. Um,
I'd
and
isolate, I'd
that's
be inside. Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
when I go in the house and if I don't find my keys and if like two kids come and tell me that, that would be so creepy. I
So
would not
creepy.
come out of the
Yeah.
house itself. But
I would find a gun. I would make sure I had a gun. That's the only thing I could think at that point.
exactly. And I was thinking about it, like what I would have done differently. But in my mind, the first two episodes, based on the information that was fed to Carol, I think she reacted quite like what I expected her to react.
Like a very human reaction. I mean, there's
Very
like,
human,
yeah.
exactly. I just wanted to get a feel if you had any other thoughts
Oh
while
no.
doing
I
like
mean,
theory crafting or.
truly in like first steps in that moment, like me and my older brother always talk about zombie apocalypses. Um, if we are ever in a zombie apocalypse moment, I got the plan. I got the plan. I know where to go. Um, and I think I would probably mirror something close to that, right? Reconnect with my family, try to get to some place that is safe, a lower population area, make sure we have our food, our water, all of that jazz, and an ability to protect ourselves. Um, unless it's Resident Evil zombies, and then you should just die right away because it's not worth it. But in terms of what Carol did, no notes. They do highlight her cousin, and her not having a family unit is truly one of the reasons that I believe that she has such a hard time accepting, Pluribus as a thing, right? Because all of the other humans that we see besides Manusos and her have close family. Manusos and her both have bad relationships with their family. The mother being attributed to being the person who sent her to gay conversion therapy, and she doesn't even want to see her cousin when it's addressed like, oh yeah, you have a cousin, right?
Mm,
Don't you want to see him?
mm,
The fact that they don't have that is probably why they had such a hard time. And because it's not like if your mother is just like, hey, it's still me, I'm just like a hive mind now, but it's still me, come give me a hug. I feel like I would fold right away. There's no way I'm fighting my mom.
I think that is also shown in the Indian. I forgot her name of the character who
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, yeah,
Yeah.
who has a son, and she
Yeah.
still thinks that he's her son, even though he has all the information of the world. That gave away that information that you just told about. But did when you watch through all these episodes, did you have any favorite character? Like this character seems to be a bit weird, or this character seems to be very interesting.
Kumba. Right away, Kumba. I quite literally predicted his appearance like 20 seconds before it showed him on screen. There was just something about the pacing of the episode where what we were discussing, it's like they were meeting a new cast, and I was talking to my girlfriend and one of my roommates, and was like, I feel like we just need like a really eccentric character, just opulent, just doing the most for no reason to like juxtapose what Carol is right now. And sure enough, he comes out, he's just fashion. It's like we would like to eat lunch, and it's like, oh yeah, come on. And he's surrounding himself with beautiful women, and yeah, I don't know
And
if I would do everything that he does, but he's got he's got style.
I completely agree. And initially, I was like, why is he showing off? I mean, in my
Yeah,
head, I was like, okay, maybe he's just a personality who likes to show off. And I didn't think anything bad about him in the first few episodes until I
yeah,
read a Reddit post and like, why is this guy bawling all the time? And then that question started popping in my head, and that made me think a lot about he's close to the enemy as possible,
uh-huh.
and yet he's updated with all the information possible. Like when Carol goes to the Las Vegas. Um, to his room in
Yeah,
Las Vegas and says that, hey, did you see my video? He's updated with all the information, and he also knows about stem cells, which is like
yeah.
a step ahead of Carol. So even though he's like bawling and chilling, and he knows a lot of stuff, and that made me question.
Yeah, and he also after he takes the phone call in Vegas and Carol's crying in the bathroom, the next scene that we see is her passed out drunk on the couch, and he has a nice moment where he doesn't disturb her. He just politely takes the drink that was about to spill out of her hand, covers her with a blanket, and then goes and stares out at the empty world. And it's like, I fully believe that we're going to have his development as a character highlight to the audience that it is, he's always been thinking about stuff, right? He's more than just this opulent man. Um,
Mm,
and for that reason, I think that he's going to be one of the best characters.
mm,
But I also think as we learn more about him and how he operates, the reason that he is behaving in the way he does right out of the gate is because he did not have that before the joining. Uh, I mean, you just imagine you are a homeless man on the street, and then suddenly the whole world is like, do you want to live in like every mansion right now?
mm,
Like,
mm.
what if we just fly to the entire world, wherever you want? It's literally yours now. Um, I think that is a lot, and that is enough to make you do things that you would not have done previously.
What was your first reaction when you saw Manusa's character? Ham
Loved him,
radio.
loved him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, loved him. I was like, this is the nerdy guy. He's gonna figure it out, man. I love that he's like this. I believe he's Catholic or some devout religious man, and I believe in secular morality, but I fully believe that him having a path to moral good and it being grounded in religion, which is something that is just so human, is awesome, right? Because it's
Mm,
like uh, of the things that I think Pluribus cannot be,
mm,
religious is one of them, right? And there's still like me not believing and someone else believing does not mean that there is or isn't. It's like the possibility exists, and
mm,
it's only because we have the ability to feel that it has any kind of weight, right?
mm.
And yeah, so I think that is probably why he has like such a religious focus, or maybe it's not even like such a focus, but it's definitely part of his character that they're building.
But
Um,
do you think that he has prior knowledge about this event that is going on? Because
mm,
the scene that they show us is he knows about he's monitoring the radio frequency or is monitoring something in the ham radio, and then he has a timer. And what
mhm,
I did was I paused that scene and I
mhm,
started the timestamp from when he starts the timer and
mm,
stop the timestamp when the timer rings, and
mhm.
that adds up to 78 seconds. Yeah. So for me, that was a bit weird. If you go back to episode 3 or 4, and if you see when he starts the timer, that if you start recording what the timer is, and when the
Uh-huh.
timer rings, it's 78 seconds.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. And I put that as a Reddit post, and a lot of people liked it, and I was confused. Okay, does this person has
Yeah.
um, prior knowledge about what the time frequency is? And the thing is that the first um, what do you call the first contact happened somewhere near where he stays, right in Chile or in the place the dark sky, the night sky
Mm.
where it was shot. That happened somewhere in Chile or
Oh,
somewhere close to.
it happens in New Mexico.
Oh, it happens in the first contact, the
Hmm.
communication that comes in. Ah, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
those big radio dishes,
Hmm.
or satellite dishes. It's called the Very Large Array.
Okay.
And yeah, it's in New Mexico.
Ah, okay.
But
In my head, sorry.
I was gonna say there
No.
is one in South America that is like, if you've ever seen the Cable Guy movie, it's like the giant dish in a side of a mountain, and I
Okay.
think that is close by him. But now that he's not there anymore, I don't know if that'll ever come into the story. But it would be cool.
And that put me off. I'm like, okay, this guy has a lot of information, but he
Yeah.
doesn't know about how they react. So he thinks that they are dangerous, and so he's sitting in, and that's what. And then I was seeing if you had picked it up, but you mentioned it's around 2 minutes. Then I thought maybe it's not accurate, but then I did the timestamp, and you can check it out. It adds up to 78 seconds.
So I didn't do the math. I just looked at like the egg timer, and the egg timer was like set to like between 2 and 3. But
Yeah.
also I can't tell you the number of times that I've used an egg timer in the last 10 years. But yeah, that is such a great observation. I kind of want to go and figure out why, right? Because he either figured out that something was repeating on that, 8.6.13 frequency, and
Mm,
maybe that's why he's referencing that. But we don't like he's doing it at 7.1. Like it gives the illusion that he's still like working up for some reason. So maybe he found it before, and we just don't see that, and it again gives the illusion that he's going in chronological order,
mm.
uh, or
So
that
yeah, that
the yeah. It's
that
weird.
was.
It's interesting.
But the scene was very interesting because the director wants us to not focus on it, and then there is like a mouse coming in, or there's something that weird that is going on, and he licks like the food plate or the tin
Huh.
foil, and then the director wants us to get distracted. But somehow I stumbled upon that, and now I want to brag about it.
Yeah.
Uh, no, but that's
So I've often seen the theories talking about Minusos being like a double agent, like he was originally a part of the hive mind and is
mm,
trying to trick Carol. And I've never really given those theories much credibility because I just can't find a piece of evidence in my mind that makes me really think that. It would be interesting, but also what you just highlighted about him having pre-existing knowledge about 78 seconds is I can't explain that. That's crazy, right? Like,
or
what does that mean?
he could have joined and reversed, like in episode 8 or 9 he starts shouting,
Uh
and
huh.
then he says, I know that you are in there, um, to a person. I'm not able to remember the character's name, right?
Rick. Yeah.
Rick, yeah. He
Yeah.
says that, I know that you are in there. So he has that information prior. I don't know if that has been shared to him before, because he's in the radio thingy, then he starts traveling, and then he goes to that point, right?
Yeah.
So he has a lot of information that is very unique, and is not shared with us as an audience. So that was what I found very interesting. Um,
That is.
yeah,
I want to figure that 78-second thing out. I need to know why.
no, but let's jump into episode 9. I
Yeah.
loved the intro, and for people out there, go and watch HaxDogma. Pluribus is drugging everybody. I think it's the thumbnail.
Heck yeah.
I'll let you speak about it, but how did you find that needle in the haystack? All right, assume that you
I-
found it.
I'll I'll start. Yeah, I'll start by saying I think that there is a really big part of the story that is emotional. That humans are both analytical and emotional, and I think the hive mind is only the analytical. They exist in a physicalism world, and maybe that is reality. However,
Mm,
if this is a human story made by humans, it probably will highlight the power of humanity through our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, philosophies, all of that. And that is something that you can't just simply reduce to the ones and zeros. Um, maybe. And I think that it is just as likely that Pluribus is drugging everybody as it is that Pluribus is emotionally manipulating everybody. And they are just so attuned to um, how the human exists that they are just pulling those strings perfectly. Um, that video is getting like quite a lot of different perspective there, where it's like, surely you weren't paying attention because they're emotionally manipulating her, and then a lot of people being like, yeah, you figured it out, like I can't wait for this to be revealed in 2 years. And the truth is I don't know. I just kind of realized that like Manusos, really the biggest point for me was in the final scene of them showing Manusos when we see that he is still not eating their food. I was just like, man, like, time has passed. Like he's still sticking to this and he's still not, he's still resisting. And Carol just abandons him. Like, and the other part that like really just stood out in my mind was the mirroring, where like Carol was behaving like Kumba when Kumba was in Vegas. There were so many similarities between the first meeting between Carol Manusos and the meeting between Carol and the other English speakers. Just like tiny things, and her inability to like recognize that she was just this person, and yeah, it all stood out to me as odd. And so once I really started diving into it, and I found the scene where, she covers her glass. She stops taking her anxiety medication, and then we see like the happiest moments of her life. There's just like stuff there where they either are implying that, you know, taking anxiety medication was wrong, and you just needed to like have the best sex of your life to start writing again, or there's something going on.
But
Something else going on. Yeah.
the director focused a lot on champagne glasses
Oh yeah.
w- when she visits Kumba in Vegas. He gives her the champagne glass. She she finishes it off. She sleeps, and the next morning, the shot where they're having the breakfast is shot via the champagne glass. Like the first shot, the early morning
Oh,
shot, is via the champagne glass. If you have not caught it, I
I
found
have
it to be
not.
like really weird. Like, why is someone capturing the breakfast moment via the champagne glass? Uh,
And there's so many shots on glasses, on drinking, on like, yeah, just her studying the fridge, her looking for stuff to eat. Like there
mm,
is, yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so right. I'm looking at the scene right now. It transitions. It's like the focus is only the champagne glass that is the
exactly,
responsible thing that made her fall asleep in Vegas, and
exactly,
and then Tacumba in the background and her waking up. Like, oh
and
man,
and
if it's not,
that's sorry.
I was gonna say if it's not the I'm calling it the poisoning the well theory because I like theories to have names. Um, Poisoning the well theory. If it's not that, uh, I feel like they have to explain why they do this so much, right? There has to be a deeper meaning because they focus on the glasses and again what they drink and eat and it's just so much. And yeah, I mean there has to be more.
And it's also like a pivotal point in my head, pivotal point where Carol talks to Kumba, and
Mhm.
somehow they stumble upon stem cells. And initially, I was thinking that okay, her purpose was to save humanity, but back in the mind, she wanted to save herself. And when she got to know that they are not going to extract her stem cells without her consent, she lost that purpose of like
Mm,
she lost the motivation and purpose, and that's what changed her into not pursuing to save humanity because she's safe and
yeah,
why
that,
care. But it also ties into the point of champagne. Like there are two pivotal moments wherein the first time she drinks something that they offer is in the lunch scene, like you mentioned in the video,
mm,
right?
mhm.
She falls down, and after that she changes her mind. She was supposed to leave to her hometown, but then she says, I want to go back with Zosia, and then she goes with Zosia. So there's a change in mind, and then she has the champagne glass, and then she has a change in mind. So there's like two major mind change moments and a drink involved. So
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 true.
your video just like gave me goosebumps when like I couldn't connect the dots, and then that point I'm like, oh my god, it was right out
It's gotta be,
there.
right? It's
Yeah, it's
gotta
gotta
be.
be.
It's
it's
gotta
it's
be.
yeah. Going to episode 8 breakdown, which I like the most, is you provided a potential theory for like potential problem solutions that Manusis can use to get
Mm,
people back. Man
yeah.
in the middle attack, Faraday
Oh,
cage,
yeah.
denial of service, right? I think, in my personal observation based on that, was man in the middle attack, I think, is the most probable pathway in which people like they can start spying on this hive mind. For
Yeah.
people who are listening, this is man in the middle is more of like cybersecurity, internet kind of a thing. So please have a research. But what led to what? How did you get to this conclusion? Like,
I'll be so honest, I've been waiting for the show to verbally say that radio frequency is how the hosts communicate since the first episode. I knew, and so I wanted to talk about all the ways that like you could abuse, like that you could hack, and because that's what I do. That's what I like talking about outside of talking about TV shows, and when those intersect, it's like, oh, this is my favorite day. And so I had the theory that it could be radio based. Um, we see a character who's a ham radio expert, and then start talking to my my ham radio expert. And yeah, it kind of became clear that you could intercept the signal, and if you could intercept the signal, um, you could decode it. Maybe, like, we truly don't know, and yeah, but in theory, it's possible. And if you could decode it and understand it, then you could technically set up a way to intercept that signal, parse it, make your command go through, like as a part of the original command, and then issue commands to whatever host or feed information back to the hive mind. I did get a comment that kind of shaped it for me a little bit. Um, Someone said that hacking, or like, as good as the theory sounds, having this thing where you're just like hacking telepathy in, as like how do you show that? Like, how do you show that and make it seem not gimmicky? And I was like, that's a good point. I guess I really don't know, but yeah, in theory it's possible. But I'm really excited to see what happens when they uh, put a member of the hive mind inside of a Faraday cage. I'm really excited to see what happens if, I don't know, they like turn on a microwave right by a host, and
Mm.
because like a microwave creates a whole bunch of electromagnetic frequency in the air. um, and in theory, you could do similar things, right? And it's such a small household item. The scene could be crazy, right? Like Zosha and Carol are just standing in the kitchen talking about whatever, and then she's like, "All right, let me make you this hot pocket." Carol turns it on, and it's like she falls over or something, right? Like, it could be anything.
I think that would, if she falls on, that would be like too much information shared.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think Zosha would be like, the hive mind would be smart enough to say, "Let me go to the
Let
restroom,"
me
or
not
whatever.
do that. Yeah, yeah.
It will be very subtle enough to not give so much information in one shot. But what I found interesting was the discussion between Carol and Zosha about individuality, wherein she
Mm,
says, "Don't say us, say I, and talk about your favorite flavor of ice cream or fruit."
yeah,
That scene was so weird to me, because
it was.
the pause on that, like, for a moment I thought it was no longer the hive mind speaking, and it was Zosha
Mm,
speaking. And hive mind took control of Zosha and said, there was a long pause, and said, you're going to have a visitor. And then that
yeah.
was about Manusis, right? I didn't think that there was a need for such a well advanced heads up. It could have been avoided, but something happened there, and the question about individuality was something very key, um, in my eyes. Did you pick on that, or do you have any opinions on it?
Um, Honestly, no. When I was watching that scene, that also stood out to me as just really weird, right? Like, and the
Mm,
only way that I found to explain it is that, like, the information no longer existed. The idea that the individual has a favorite ice cream is just not relevant information for a hive mind. So, get like, make it efficient, drop what you don't need or something, or maybe the information still exists, because like they know the exact minute in which Carol's keys were lost. Um, but it kind of gave me the illusion that the information was hosted elsewhere, and they had to find that information. They had to, send it back to the host that was speaking. Um, the idea that it is uh, like truly Zosha searching for those thoughts, I think is pretty cool. I did see people on Reddit talking about uh, like individuality
mm.
after that episode, and I wasn't really sure why. But now it makes much more sense. I think that, yeah, like, because it was a question about the individual, about who Zosha really was, and if the human inside is ever going to exist, then they could subtly show that part of that human trying to regain themselves, coming alive, coming briefly fighting for control, when questions about them come back into it, and yeah, and that being the reason that you can explain the pause by, or explaining the pause with that, I think is also pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that hive mind panicked, and took control,
Yeah.
like thought that it lost the situation, and then like let's grab it and then say, here you go, a new information, and that took that deal, like that explained the delay,
Yeah.
at least in my head. Um,
Do you
do,
think that they
do you,
could?
yeah,
Do you think that they could lie about it? About her favorite ice cream?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
What what I thought was High Mind let loose of the us and started focusing only on Zosia, like the
Mhm.
individual, and started picking information directly from her. And in that process, I thought that it lost a bit of control.
Mm.
So the key could be asking a lot of individual questions and trying to bring the person out more and see what High Mind does.
Just like
That
Manusos, right?
exactly, just like
Yeah. Yeah.
Manushas.
Trying
So
to
that
appeal to the individual.
exactly. So that was one of the ways, that could not necessarily be a technical way of doing it, but more about like psychological and playing around and poking, see what holes does.
Yeah.
In my eyes, I thought Carol was doing it until the final episode, wherein the character just fell apart, and I was like, why did they do such a poor job of character writing? And it made a lot of sense just after seeing your video. Until then, I was just like disappointed. Me and my friends were talking about it, and we are like,
Yeah.
"What's wrong with Carol? Come on,
Yeah.
grow up!" And
Why?
yeah,
Why? Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm in the same boat. I thought that she was doing this big brain game of chess. I love trains, and she describes it because it's the loneliest sound in the world. Uh, ma'am, there's never a moment in my entire life where I will idolize anything lonely. I cannot relate to that at all. And yeah, and so it really just felt like she was saying that exact thing because she was trying to assess the hive mind, trying to see if they would understand that a lonely feeling is different than a positive feeling. And if a human saying that I love trains because it's the loneliest thing in the world, if that's not a red flag to them, then they can't understand feelings, right? Like that's, it just felt like she was playing her cards close to her chest. And I was holding on to that until she left. And, and even when she left, I was like, okay, well, the entire premise is that the hive mind had to come back. She had to have a proximity in which she could do testing, and that could still be true. But she just leaves Manusos, and then the finale is like, or she comes back and is like, "Fine, we'll do it your way." And it's like, dang, we really lost her. And of course, we see her epiphany moment. We see when she's like, "Oh wait, I'm still not safe." And yeah, I just
no, yeah, I
it seems like
completely
there's so much that's not being addressed if there's not this chemical attack against her and anybody else that is just trying to live, laugh, love.
yeah. Do you have a favorite moment in the series?
Ooh, I love the poker scene.
Hmm.
Well, I do love the finale moment with the young girl from Peru, who gets turned into the hive mind. Yeah, that was a powerful scene. That was cool.
When she was smoking the cigarette in episode 1, and she sees
Mhm.
up and says everything is flown parallelly, I was not able to understand what's the meaning of that scene, right? uh,
Mm,
and this scene wherein she inhales the whatever it is, inhales the
yeah, yeah.
gas, and then she converts, made me like go back to that scene and rewatch it. Then I understood that okay, they had to fly over, like they had to use 100 planes or whatever it is, and then use the form of gas and then
Chemtrails, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to convert people. That gave me so much information. That could also be my favorite scene, of
That's
the
pretty
series.
good. The warehouse scene where Carol finds the dead bodies, is freaking out. That's
Gilligan's
pretty
head.
high up there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
wait,
that.
what am I talking about? What am I talking about? Okay, it's 100%. I am Manusos Oviedo. I'm here to save the world. That him just single man mantra, the suffering man trope. He's going to do it all. He's going to do it by himself. He's pushing that boulder, and then of course the palm tree that just impales him. Like, oh my
Oh, that's
god, there's just such a good build up, and then for him to fail that and still be like, like kind of forced to keep living. Like he doesn't want the help, but I'm sure he's still grateful that he's alive. And yeah, I think that there's, however the story goes, that scene's going to show that there is a use to the hive mind.
mm.
much like him being able to walk out of the hospital without having to pay his bills. There's like a real way that it could be a path to a better species,
Mm.
assuming everybody a part of the system is able to consent to being a part of it. That sharing of information, that collection of resources, that ability to like perfectly know who's best for what task and do so efficiently and keep everybody safe and okay. Um, the fact that people are still being impaled accidentally is crazy to me, because how are you still having accidental deaths if you know like everything about everything, right? I don't know, but yeah, it's just, there's a real spot in my mind that says the hive mind could do some good, and we could be seeing the opposition of that. The people that are holding on to individualism as like a thing that we felt that we needed to survive, and in reality, the rest of the entire universe is hive minds. Like, we're just like infants who don't understand how beautiful it is to be able to like truly connect with each other man to man right now, and just be in each other's brains, and share exactly the things that we want to share, and not have to find the words. You know what I mean? Like, there's
But
maybe a better existence.
losing individuality also feels a bit sad to me, because
Oh
then
yeah. Oh yeah.
there's no complexity, and there is like no consciousness on some level, I guess, because
True.
you can't experience what it feels like to be living in your body or in your mind. And losing consciousness or having one shared consciousness is a bit boring or a bit sad in my
100%.
brain. I thought about consciousness, like what would happen when hive mind takes over. Is it like the whole world is now one conscious mind, and that's hive mind, and all other consciousness is disappeared? Or, yeah, that was like a very weird question in my head, which I couldn't solve.
Oh
I
yeah.
also put that in the Reddit, just trying to see if someone smart enough can throw that
It
answer out.
it's interesting. I mean, they do shape it as one consciousness.
Mm,
Like, whenever I hear when someone from the pluribus is talking, I'm still hearing one voice. It's like there's still motivations behind it. They're all single focus. They have like, they could tell us that it's like a collection of people working together, understanding right and wrong or what to do. But there's still these imperatives, and they just say that they're imperatives, and there's no way to argue against that, because it's just like, okay, it's breathing, it's your a thing that has to be done. Um,
mm,
but who's defining them? Like, what's the voice saying that we do this one, we follow that one? I still hear it as one consciousness.
mm.
And truly, in terms of like to hive mind or not to hive mind, I'm totally in the camp of it being an individual rocks. And I do truly believe that the hive mind cannot write stories. They cannot, like, they could be Chat GPT writing, writing whatever. Truly, like, they can have the appearance of a writer, but there's not like a story behind those words. There's not like a feeling.
Mm.
Yeah, a feeling. That's it.
They cannot come up with a line that the sound of a train is the loneliest sound in the world. So that cannot
Exactly.
be made by hive mind. That needs to
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
a person with a lot of experience and individuality that can come up with such a lines. Um, I have some unanswered questions. One
Hit
of
me.
them is, when Carol speaks, Carol goes to meet Mr. Diabete,
Uh-huh.
um, in Las Vegas, and she picks up the phone and tries to communicate to the hive mind. She gets like, what do you call it? She gets the
Voicemail. Yeah.
voicemail.
Yeah.
Uh, but my question was like, how would hive mind know when who is calling? Because she is in Mr. Diabetes' room,
Yeah.
and that person is calling. So how do they know she is calling? And they instantly say, "Hi, Carol." Like, how do they know it's
How do they know?
Carol? So that
I picked that up right away too. I was like, what? How? Right? Like, make this make sense. It's either a production error or something crazy is happening. And I think the truth is that they were standing right beside some big ass windows, and up to that point, it was still like a looming tension of the spying by the hive mind. And I think that all of the buildings in the distance are being highlighted through those windows, because they're watching.
mm,
They could know. but also having like the voicemail ready to go whenever, like, there's still an oddity to it, but it just on this to me, it's meant to create this tension that they're being watched right before the big reveal of yes, they are constantly watching. All you have to do is wave your hand to the sky. And yeah, that's my takeaway from that. But
And
it is weird. It was weird.
it was weird, but you also answered in one of your videos, like when she goes and visits what's her name, Zosia in the hospital.
Mhm.
Before she even sees her,
Oh
the
yeah,
hive mind sees Carol, right? So there is
yeah.
some sort of a communication happening, which we are not aware of, which is not in the realm of visible light, radio waves,
Mhm.
whatever we know of. So that was one of the. I thought that is one of the answers. They will provide much more information to it. They have a good hold of brain waves, and they can amplify it and
Yeah.
maybe able to understand it a bit more. I don't know, but that was an unanswered question
Yeah,
in my.
and totally agree. Like, y the information that they have before, like, we understand why they have that information, in moments of Zosha knowing that Carol was looking at her from across an entire plane, Zosha and the doctor turning around, like, a whole 2, 3 seconds before Carol even or, like, before Carol looks at them, they knew that she was there, and, of course, like, there could have been someone else in the hallway anticipating that Carol was walking, and they would know the speed in which they're walking and all of this, all of that jazz. But
Right.
the inclusion of the electromagnetic field of the human, and the fact that Carol's is dormant, and that is probably the thing. Like Carol's are not dormant but unused. I mean, truly, that is probably just the difference. Is for whatever reason their electromagnetic field is not able to be interacted with. That could simply be the difference. But it doesn't mean that it's not detectable. Like if there is a telepathy peer based system in which my brain waves interact with yours, um, at the very minimum, even if I couldn't understand what you were saying, I could probably know that you were there to say something or that I was receiving some
Mm,
amount of brainwave. So I think that that is why we have that. And when we go back to the scene, or why we have scenes like that. Um, but going back to the telephone scene, um, it would if that scene does relate to that mechanic, it could mean that Kumba is one of the people. If he is a double agent, or if they have access to his brainwaves, if they are able to detect or something like that, if they're not spying from a distance, he would be an attack vector to look at, where it's like in theory, he could either have something on him or be the thing that is communicating to the hive mind, in whatever way that she is the one calling right now.
mm.
Yeah,
Kumba, he is suspicious, and he would be a
yeah.
ideal candidate to be a double agent. Dan
Oh yeah,
Manusis for me. Then
yeah.
yeah, and the moving to the second question is what I had was rats can be infected by this hive mind or by this virus. However, hive mind chooses not to infect any animals or anything other than human species, at least from the information that is provided. Is that because of efficiency with the purpose that they just want to build like a giant antenna and send that communication, whatever, to
Mm.
or is it because it's very complex to manage different species? So they just want to target one species that is like highly intellectual and then just work with that.
I really don't know. I guess like my first thought is that the usefulness of being able to have wolves in the hive mind is not that useful, right? Like, sure, you could just have like a killer pack of wolves go do your bidding, and that is pretty cool. Not gonna lie, that's pretty cool. Uh, but in terms of like their, what we know about them and killing and stuff, like it just seems like it wouldn't be useful. I do think the rat question, like if that first rat is a part of the hive mind or not, uh, uh, I have no reason not to believe that that rat is a part of the hive mind. 100%.
There would be one squeaking going on
The
in.
squeaking, yeah.
in
Dude, that,
um,
that that scene right there, when I was watching that scene and I'm like listening to the audio, and there's like a little swinging hanger for the pull down emergency eye thing, I'm like, are they doing something here? Is this? Are they trying to, just imply that she's hearing nothing but squeaks right now? Like that could be kind of wild.
I mean, in my mind, you could infect different species and learn a lot about strategies. Like, how would they, let's say, how would they communicate? Would they communicate more effective
True,
than
true.
humans and use the best strategy to do things quickly? Like
That's a great
ants.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Infect ants and see how to do teamwork, and that would be like the best
yeah,
way to do it. But maybe there is something that the directors are not sharing. That's why I couldn't come to the conclusion. But that was one thing which was like, okay, one rat voice with like the entire humanity is so weird. Yeah, I
yeah.
think
I think what you said is perfect. That's you were thinking about it better than I was. You're like being able to learn from ants how to properly lift 10 times your body weight, right, or 100 times or whatever. Different family dynamics in different species. How all of these different varying creatures kept themselves alive before humanity became the dominant species and put everything in zoos. Yeah, I think that's kind of spot on. I think that there is, in fact, things to learn, and so I wonder if maybe they want it to be a bigger force. Maybe they want the maybe reproduction is a part of it, because we still haven't addressed the question of if the hive mind is allowing humans to continue to reproduce. Um, if maybe they're just waiting. We let all of the bunny rabbits of the world back into the world, and the world is then suddenly overrun by bunnies, and they're like, well, it's definitely easier to be a bunny. And in theory, like we could just step on this button that, resends the broadcast every 78 seconds. So after humanity's dead, let's go to the bunnies, do that a little bit, another 10,000 years, and we're good.
that's also a good point. But reproduction is also, I didn't make a note of it, but it's also something that it's not explicitly shown, and it's
Yeah.
like a high risk activity. Like reproduction has a lot of energy, and um, whenever a negative energy is focused on this hive mind, it just falls apart. So
Mhm.
reproduction could be something about energy that could put them off or throw them off, and that's why there is nothing about reproduction. Like we have a fixed set of humans, and that keeps on reducing. At least in my head,
Yeah.
people cannot reproduce at this point of time, and
Yeah.
yeah, that would be the end of like human species over the next 10 years or whatever, whenever the food ends or whenever
Yeah.
the death rate increases the birth rate, which is zero, from what the director has shown. So yeah, that's also an unanswered question in my head. But why do you think that there is like series like Pluribus and Severance, that audience connect so strongly? Because I've never connected to any other series as strongly as Severance and Pluribus. And what makes them, in your mind, what makes them connect to audience so strongly?
I think that they are approachable stories that talk about big things in a semi-serious way. I think they deconstruct these like high concept ideas of like the work life balance, and they put it behind a oh my god, what is his name? Mark.
Mark, yeah,
Mark. Yeah, they
from
put it behind the
Severance, yeah.
actor that is Mark, and it's funny. It is approachable. It is us as the audience trying to figure out how not to be screwed over by the man. And in Pluribus, I think that Carol very much represents most of the middle age where we're just trying to figure out what to do, and then suddenly you have to be the person who is responsible for everything.
Mm.
You have to do everything. It's just suddenly on you to be the responsible adult of the world. Um, and yeah, I think that for those reasons and many more, they're wonderful stories, and I do think people relate in their own ways. But right, like off the top of my dome, that's what's coming to mind.
For me, it was like simplicity. For
Yeah,
Pluribus, like knowing that human population is so vulnerable, like one click or one curiosity just breaks us apart,
I like
was
that. Yeah,
so good, and that kept me like hooked. throughout, the simplicity. And the same with severance. It was so plausible that this device can be put in the brain, like at least in
Yeah.
my brain. We have it on our iPhones. There are profiles. So you can have it on your brain that you can just say work profile and personal profile, and then bam, you are there in the severance world. So it was
Yeah. Yeah.
possible. It's not something like zombies, which I don't think it can be possible. But in my brain, I could not make it very realistic. But these
Yeah.
things are like one click away or one step away from happening. So that made me like connect to it even more strong. Like I couldn't connect to any other series as strongly as I did with these two.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It
yeah.
feels like it's real. It feels like it's, like you said, one step away from happening. And, they're both beautiful fiction because it is based in that realism. And, who knows if reality will ever get to the point where we have a separation of the self. Um, but it's possible and it's fun to think about.
And I think the only way, like if human species want to travel intergalactic or whatever,
Yeah.
the only way is to download our consciousness into whatever light form and
Yes.
then beam it like how they have done
Yes.
it. And that's what connected to me, like, okay, this is so true. Like if there's an extraterrestrial organisms or whatever it is, it will try to beam itself, its consciousness, and that's what we received, and we messed up. So that was so good and so
Yeah.
simple. um
I truly think, yeah, we're going to be able to achieve light speed, but the only way that we do that is if we completely map like what it means to be me presently in this moment, feeling all of the things that I feel in the exact way that I do, down to the atoms and charges of those atoms. Um, if we can capture all of that in a sequence of ones and zeros, and then have a body, deconstructor and body printer, what we were basically doing is faxing ourselves. And I think we could absolutely fax ourselves at some point in the course of human history.
I mean, it can be possible, but knowing how complex the body is, like so many hormones in the body, and you need to like
Yeah,
exactly print the same hormone levels in the other. Like if you mess up a bit, let's say you add a bit of serotonin, reduce a bit of cortisol, whatever it is, you will come out depressed on the other side. But it could
yeah,
be but a depressed version of you, right?
yeah.
And then you don't want to be a part of it.
My favorite part about this entire thought is that it's still you dying. Like it's still the first you is dead, and then
Yeah,
you're just like really hoping that the version that exists is like somewhat you or enough of you to believe that it's you. Um, like it's still, yeah, it's
no.
still back to those core concepts from many years ago about what it means to be a person.
And I want to touch on severance in as details as pluribus, but yeah, we don't have time. And it's also something that is not fresh in my mind. So I couldn't
Sure,
like
yeah,
recollect all the names and all the plots like how I can do with pluribus.
yep, yep.
But when the next season is out, I hope there is one for severance. I would love to,
Oh yeah.
connect the whole season 1 to 3 with you.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so down, man. This has been a
uh,
wonderful conversation. Yeah,
yeah, it's super fun. But final question, just to
yeah.
wrap this up, what's your ultimate goal with theory crafting?
Oh man. Okay, I want to be in a writer's room on whatever show, on Pluribus, on Severance, on Westworld, on just some show that I am in love with. I want to be in that writer's room and not talking to anybody else, not even doing YouTube. If I suddenly am supposed to be covering something I like love, and I don't, y'all should know that that is a sign that I'm in that room. Because yeah, I just want to be a part of the creative process. I just want to make something beautiful and be talking and be having these conversations in an attempt to create the subject material, and be part of it.
I I hope you get that, but I hope there's also like a small part of you that is allowed to share these theory craft. Like even if it doesn't make sense, like try to confuse people. Like there could be like 10 ways, 10 good theories out there, and you try to put it out. But I would love to have more conversations with you for on Severance when that is released. But for me, this was like truly awesome conversation. I didn't feel like we spent a lot of time like stressing into what, like in my brain it goes, what's the next topic I need to talk about? But
Oh
this
yeah,
was like, for me, it was very casual and very natural topics that popped up, and we talked
yeah,
only about pluribus. And I had
yeah,
made a
yeah,
few more notes about severance and things like that, but I it took us a lot of time covering Pluribus, and I loved talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts, or you want to add anything?
Honestly, man, I just want to say that the feeling is mutual. It was so nice talking to you. The conversation was natural. Did not feel like I was like constantly searching for the next thing to talk about, or like doing the heavy lifting. Or yeah, it was just easy. I appreciate you and that greatly.
And yeah, for all the listeners out there, follow HaxDogma. And thanks a lot for listening.